Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I'm Adriana. I am the Manager of Customer Success and Support here at inFlow, and I'm going to be hosting the webinar here with my colleagues Kiri and Laya, who are both a couple of our customer success managers here. So for some of you guys may have joined us for our previous webinar that we've done for the QuickBooks Online integration, but this one is specifically going to be for our two-way payment sync enhancement that we added on to the existing QBO integration last year. So Laya, if you can throw in the chat, if anybody is expecting to learn a little bit more about the QBO integration on its own, Laya has added in a link to that webinar there. But without further ado, let's get started. So today's topics, we are specifically going over the new payment sync options. We're going to be going over an overview of them, going over what the setup options are. We're going to be going over refunds within these new payment sync options, as well as batch payments. And then Kiri is going to be taking over for a demo and a showcase of the payment sync options as well. And stick around to the end, guys, because we do have a quiz that everyone will be able to participate in. That the winner of the quiz will be able to get a $100 gift card from us for the supplier or vendor of your choice. So yeah, stick around to the end there. Let's get started.
Yeah.
Okay. So our new payment sync options. So we have updated our native QuickBooks Online or QBO integration. We've got a little graphic here that shows the new payment settings. So this illustrates, if you guys are more visual people, how QuickBooks Online and inFlow work together. Now we actually do have this picture up on our QuickBooks Online integration page, which Laya has linked on the chat there. So if you guys do want to kind of follow along or take a look at some more written resources, we have that Learning Center article. But again, this just showcases some of our payment settings that we'll be explaining in just a moment. So yeah, essentially the enhancement is payments and refunds now have their own settings. And we've added a few new payment sync options to accommodate different workflows and use cases. So whoever was using QuickBooks, early last year will know that previously we were only able to push payments from inFlow to QBO. So that second option here. But with this enhancement to our integration, we can now push and pull payments in both inFlow and QBO so they can talk to each other a little bit better. We still are able to push payments from inFlow to QBO, but we can also now pull payments from QBO to inFlow. So this allows you guys to tailor QBO to your needs depending on how you receive your payments from your customers or your vendors. All right, so we're going to jump into the setup options here. Now, this is a quick snapshot of what the setup options look like in your inFlow QuickBooks integration page. So that can be found in your integration settings on the web application of inFlow. So the new setup options, I'm not going to go over them with a fine-tooth comb. Again, this is just a visual for you guys, but this is able to be enabled for both your sales orders and your purchase orders. So you have separate options for both of them. All right. Before I get into refunds, it looks like this is pretty clear. Nobody has any questions in the chat right now, but if you guys do, we'll take a quick little break to see if there's anything we can answer. Going once, going twice. All right, looks like everything's clear so far. We'll have another Q&A at the end, but we'll go into refunds. So we've got a little caveat here with refunds. While payment sync options are two-way sync now, when refunds are enabled in these options, they can only push from inFlow to QBO. It is a one-way push from inFlow to QBO and not vice versa. So there was just a little caveat when we were creating this integration. There is a technical limitation mostly on the QuickBooks side that allows us only to be able to push refunds from inFlow to QBO. So just take note of that. It is noted here in the integration settings and in our Learning Center article, but this refund specifically remains a one-way push. All right, and we've also got batch payments. So two things with batch payments. When you guys are using inFlow, you can pay for multiple invoices at once, and the payments will be pushed individually to QBO. So we do have information on how you can push batch payments in inFlow. So Laia, if you're able to pull up that article just for in case anybody doesn't know how to do batch payments in inFlow currently, we can send you guys that information now. But like I said, all of these payments will be pushed individually to QBO if you do decide to use batch payments in inFlow. The reverse, however, when you're using QBO, paying multiple invoices with a single payment is not supported, so also known as batch payments. Each invoice must have its own payment in order to properly sync through to inFlow. So unfortunately, this is just another limitation with the integration. We do not, with this integration, support batch payments from QBO to inFlow. So just take note of that as well. All right, and so we're actually done the informational portion now. Kiri is going to demo the actual payment sync options for you guys in inFlow and QBO. But right before, it looks like we have a couple questions from Angela and Alan. So first, the payment sync from QBO to inFlow, will it pull from QBO credit memos closing an invoice, or only if the receive payment is used in QBO? Interesting.
Yeah, it's a good question. As far as I know, credit memos, I don't think they do sync. It's just the receive payment at this time. Double check, but I'll see if I can even test it in the demo as well. But I know you can leave memos and remarks, but I'm pretty sure it's just the receive payments.
Yeah, we can see if we have some time to do that in the demo as well, but really good question. So let's see, Alan, how do we split payments from a check that covers multiple invoices in QBO? So essentially what that would look like, you would need to, if you have the two-way sync enabled in QBO, because we don't support batch payments, you would have to manually pay each individual invoice individually. So unfortunately, that's just a limitation of the integration. We can see if it's possible for us to add that on in the future. It looked like when we were going through the development process that there wasn't a way to do that based off the QuickBooks side, but you never know what might change in the future. So I see Mindy also commented we would like it to support batch payments in QBO. We would as well. That would be great. But like I said, hopefully in the future, that might be a possibility. Can the QuickBooks side receive the credit memo that has been applied in inFlow? That's from Sheila. So that seems similar, if not the same question as Angela's question. So, so we'll take a look to see if that's possible. And then I'll just read the last question here. inFlow zeroes out invoice in refund, question mark. This is from Amanda. Where does original payment get applied in QuickBooks as that gets zeroed out too? So QuickBooks creates journal entries instead. inFlow just doesn't seem correct for refunds zeroing out the original invoice in both QBO and inFlow. I'm not too sure. We might have to dig into that a little bit more. I don't think inFlow would be zeroing out the invoice. It would be pushing a specific refund. So I might not be understanding exactly what you're meaning, but if it is something that's affecting your specific QuickBooks, we can definitely take a further look if you send us a quick email to support@inflowinventory.com. But yeah, hopefully maybe with the demo, that'll kind of clear things up when we test out refunds. But yeah, we'll see. Thank you, Laia. And then really quick last one from Zachariah. How to solve this error in QBO integrations when we failed to push the sales order, business validation error. So with those business validation errors, a lot of our error messages are actually found in the troubleshooting section of our Learning Center guide. So if you scroll up in the chat, Laia did link that for you. And that should be able to help give you some guidance on how to solve your specific error message. Business validation could mean a couple different things. So there might be a little bit more to that error message. Laia has linked the specific tab as well. Thank you, Laia, for that. But if you are still struggling with your errors, we can definitely take a further look into that for you. You can send us an email to support@inflowinventory.com, or if you go to our support page where that article is, you can also live chat in with our support representatives so they can help you live in the moment if needed. But yeah, that looks like the rest of our questions for now. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Kiri to share his screen and start the demo off.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great question, guys. And I think some of this will get addressed in the actual demo here. So let me just grab this for us here. All right, and that should be live. Also, don't worry about my background. I am safe. I've gotten some messages thinking that I am trapped in a basement. I'm not trapped. It is my basement. We're just doing some construction at the moment, so don't be alarmed. So yeah, let's start off by something that's probably familiar to everyone, which is the homepage here at inFlow. This does look a little bit strange to you. I am in the manufacturing side of inFlow right now. So if some things do look a little off, just know that could be the reason why. So I'm gonna first take us over into a little bit of how I set mine up. So if I go under integrations again, this is where you would come to set up your integration in the first place. Mine is currently already set up here. And you can see, just like in Adriana's lovely slides, you have sales orders, purchase orders that you can control. I have my current accounts that I have set up in my personal QuickBooks account. Again, just for the demo purposes, nothing right now has taxes, but just know that is a part where you will also have to connect your taxing schemes and things like that as well to make sure things are flowing correctly. But the most important thing of why we're all here is for push and pull payments. That is turned on. We do have our refunds turned on, so that will push refunds over on the sales order side. And then also for purchase orders, we can see that I have some of the details about inventory value, which affects your inventory asset accounts. And then all the other main accounts, which really are affecting more so the products and the values with those. Again, while we're here, push and pull payments is turned on, and then refunds is also turned on, and then the corresponding accounts for that. So it's a very easy setup. Takes probably 5 minutes if you are aware of all the right accounts. I know sometimes that's the trickier part of it, is just making sure it is set up to the right account. But again, I know a lot of companies have accountants and they usually direct them to that as well. But again, very, very quick setup, just so you're aware. If ever there was an issue, you can always disconnect QuickBooks right from here as well. This is also where you will see your errors again. So again, if you're a little bit newer to some of the QuickBooks stuff, I just wanted to point that out before we got into everything. So let's start off. Let's go into the purchase order side of things first. And I'm going to create one over here. In this case, I'm going to sell. I'm going to be buying something actually from Thelma here. So let's say Thelma sells me a couple walks, and yes, it's going to be a very random product purchase order here. We might be selling some other different things. So in this case, I am going to buy 3 cases of this walk. I'll buy 1 case of this stainless pan. So we get to a total of $5.50, right? Let's save that, and that should sync automatically, right? No, that won't sync automatically. Because again, with purchase orders, the item first has to be fulfilled so that the expense pushes over first, right? Let's hop over into our QBO side here. Right from here, we should get an update, and just also be aware, sometimes these syncs don't happen right off the bat. So sometimes don't be alarmed if you don't see it right away. It might just sometimes take a little bit of a refresh for it to populate. So let me just scroll down here and see if I can find where that one pushed over. We need our PL5. Give me a second here. Like I said, there are sometimes delays. And we still don't have it yet, so give me 1 sec. Okay. Yeah, I know there was some weird. I might just even just go back to one of my older ones before and have that populate instead. Okay, I am actually going to go back to an older one that I made earlier. So here's my PL4, and I'm just going to unpay this and unfill this and pull it back in. Just give me a second here.
Technical difficulties.
As always, it sometimes happens, especially when you want to go live on things.
Every time, I think.
There it is. See, it just takes a little while for them to populate. So sorry about that, guys. But yeah, sometimes you can see that sometimes you got to wait a few minutes. I wasn't patient. But you know what? We're patient. Here we are. So here's our purchase order 5. And we can see all the details of it right in here. So there's our wok, there's our sauteed pan, and we can see our total of $550, right? In this case, let's do a bit of a partial payment. So say this got sent over and say, you know, we don't have to pay this vendor all the money up front. So we can come up to here, and if you are probably used to QuickBooks, this is probably not strange or odd to you in any way. You can see already that it's giving you like a reference number. So if you did have to apply some other type of number, you can actually throw that information in there too. And that also will sync back into inFlow. So let's say in this case, I'm actually going to pay $350 to this vendor. And I'm going to save and close that. All right, I'm going to just refresh this page just to see that it's representing on QuickBooks' side. And we can see, yeah, my bill payment there has been recorded for $350. So now I should be able to go back in here. And again, let's see if that syncs up right away. It might just take a little bit of time. So let's give that a second just to load up. But it should be getting ready to go there in a second. Any questions maybe as it's syncing up that maybe I can answer while it goes in there?
Got anything here?
Let's see. Do PO sync to QBO only when they are fulfilled? Yes, that is correct. So that's what is always the trigger. It first will come through as an expense. Once everything is paid off, it then gets turned into a bill. So that's what you will see here. So let me just double check.
We also just got a little note from Alan that the screen is a little hard to read. Would you be able to zoom in by any chance a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for bringing that up, Alan. Appreciate it. Let me know if that looks a little bit better. I've zoomed in a bit more.
Yeah, it is for me. Let us know in the chat as well, guys.
Perfect. And as you can see, our payment has now synced over. That $350 is now representing on this side. So we can see that the method of payment was through credit card. Reference number was 1,000, like I just wrote on the QBO side, and it was able to push that information back into inFlow for me. All right, so say some time has gone by and we want to record another payment, and say this time, you know, the person actually in inFlow wants to record that payment. Maybe they sent the rest off directly from there. I can, again, come in here, leave a reference as well. So say let's 1001. I can also put how this was paid. So say this was paid through Amex. And we can record that there. We can see our balance here is getting saved. And I can save that there. And now we know that completed amount has been paid. Let's jump back into our expenses. And I gotta say, inFlow did it a lot faster than QuickBooks, and we witnessed it live. Not to bash QuickBooks, but you know, I like to believe that inFlow is super fast when it does a lot of things. And look there, already synced up. That last amount was actually paid. I'm actually gonna go back into our original PO here just to show how that looks. So over here, we have all our details, you know, with our bill number, all the dates and everything, our products. We can see the total amount here was paid. And then I can actually see the 2 payments here with their reference numbers as well. The date that they were actually paid on, which is also represented from what is on our paid details over here, because you can control the date from this side in inFlow as well. So that's matching up correctly on that side. So that's great. So that's how we can see how it moved back and forth on a PO. Let's try it again from a sales order, which won't be very much different, but let's still take a look because they do have a little bit of a difference of how they sync.
Sorry, Kiri, just another quick comment from Alan. It looks like the zoom is gone for the QuickBooks side. It's still a little zoomed out. The inFlow side looks good. But...
Got you. Appreciate you, Alan, for bringing that up again. Let me know if that looks a little bit better, and definitely leave another comment there if that's still not good enough. Perfect. All right, let's hop into a sales order now and create one. In this case, I'm going to sell something to Adam here. And just for ease of use too, I'm going to call this QBO webinar order.
Webinar, yeah.
Webinar. We can do webinars. So we have that synced up, and let's sell a few products as well. So let's actually sell our same walk. Why not? Let's make a profit off of it. In this case, someone wants to buy 5 of them.
It's your top seller.
Top seller. Everyone needs a good walk every now and then, you know, like it's a great dish to use, especially non-stick, no problems.
Fantastic.
So on this side, sales orders sync a little different from POs where you had to fulfill the PO. On this case, it's really controlled by invoice status. So you can do that a few ways. You can easily come in here, mark it as invoiced. Marking as paid would also do it as well, of course, and that can flip it into the full invoice status as well. But most of the time, if you probably want someone on the QBO side to collect payment from there, say you send your QuickBooks invoices out directly and try to get paid directly that way, this would be how you can actually almost kind of send a message to whoever's controlling it on the QuickBooks side. I have a few clients where they make their accountants do a lot of that, and this is how they can communicate back and forth. And I'm actually going to give you a way that you might even be able to talk to them directly too if you ever wanted to do something. Like for example, say you, the person in inFlow, took the initial deposit or something like that. So I could come into here, and let's say I'm taking $50 as a deposit, and I'm going to say this was a deposit, and I'm going to reference this as 2,000. So now I can save that, and let's hop into QuickBooks now. And over here, we're actually going to go over to sales. I'm just going to go under all sales. And we can see right here is where my QBO webinar order that we just made of that $550. I can already see that there's some payment made of that US $50. And I'm just going to go into this edit invoice. So at the top, we get all of our details about it. We can see that one payment has already been received for $50. If I want to go and actually check that with a little bit more detail, I can see my reference number that I just put on QuickBooks. And if I scroll down to the bottom here, this is the deposit information. So there is a way that you can almost communicate back and forth, right, between whoever's on the other side. You can leave something there of any type of note and any type of information, and maybe you skip out on having to send a text or an email, and that would save you a lot of time as well. So I'm going to come back into here. I'm going to just edit that invoice again, and I'm going to collect the rest of the payment. So you can see here we have details of what was received so far, our balance that is due, and I'm going to go and receive another payment. In this case, I'm going to take the rest of everything, which is the $550. I'm going to save and close. And that should complete my order on that side. And let's just jump back over into inFlow. I'm going to refresh the page there. All right. And again, we know we take a little bit of time when we're coming back the other way. So maybe as that is syncing up, we will maybe answer another quick question as I just double check this one more time. I just want to make sure it's closed on here. Yep, my balance is complete. I can save that. Actually, I'm just going to come back here. We're not going to touch this right now. And I'll refresh this just one more time before I hop and look into that chat. Yeah, that's weird. So let's maybe just look at some questions there. Was there anything outstanding?
We do have some questions. Going through, Laya has manned the chat pretty well. So in regards to two-way sync, I think there was, let's see. Yeah, no, it looks like everything's covered in the chat.
Good. I guess everyone's just paying close attention. I like it. But yeah, I mean, I'll hop back on there, but we can definitely see, 2 payments already made on that same date, the $550. If I did again want to put a reference on that other side, I could. Maybe I can get it to push a little bit quicker if I do something like that. So let me put a reference of 2002. Oh, I think my keyboard just died. Beautiful. Let's put that there. Let's save and close. Let's hop back onto inFlow. Boom, and there we go. So now we see that's paid. We can see my new reference here, my 550 that was also just paid off on the QuickBooks side. And that has closed out everything. And then all that's left for you to do is to fulfill it, right? So you can see right there how like simple it is. Don't be too worried about, the time frame. I think that's also a thing that might be different with everybody's QuickBooks account. We are using one that, a lot of us on the team actually have to use together. So that could also be adding to the slowness. I know they were also doing a little bit of maintenance as well. So don't be too alarmed. I don't think everybody is probably checking it as quickly as I am in a webinar right now. So the last thing I think I might just do is let's see if we can test out if we had to refund this, right? Let's say we had to refund one of these walk sticks and just see how it just pushes over. So if you've never had to do a return in inFlow before, first you want to just come into your return tab here and you want to add that product. In this case, I'm just going to autofill it to make it easy and just take this down to 1. What that's going to look like on your sales order is you have 1 there, right? And we're just needing to do a return of 120. So I'm going to come back over this side as my keyboard reboots. All right, and I'm going to push that refund over there. Let's refresh that. And
in the speed here.
Am I going a little too fast?
A little bit. No, well, for QBO and inFlow.
Yeah, it does need a little bit of speed. We can already see this got updated, minus that 480. So the invoice did get corrected. The refund itself, I haven't seen push over as yet.
What invoice is this for again? What's that invoice number?
It was QBO webinar order, which it is showing the refund has happened because it reduced it. It just doesn't seem to have pushed right away. There we go. So now you can see that minus 120, right? So there's your refund that would actually populate on the same order for you. And again, there's not very much you can do from here if you needed to consolidate something. I think this might go back to the credit memo. So if you do get a credit memo on this side, you would have to send it directly from here to your customer to get their money back. And that's where the part of the refunds, it's just not syncing back and forth just because of some of the consolidation between the two integrations. And I think that's where it really comes into it because, there could be many reasons of how you do a refund. You could be giving somebody that cash, you could be giving somebody back a credit. And I think having to figure out that there's these nuances in between those would have probably caused a lot more errors between you and your customers. So we kind of just left it so that, if it's showing the refund on the QBO side, you're able to control what you want to do with it going forward after that. Okay, but that's how it would first represent on your actual invoice and how it would display. And there should actually be, a credit memo in the system as well. If I actually go under my audit log, I might be able to just quickly find it here. Again,
I think the problem with this one is that only a portion of the invoice was refunded. So if on the whole order, Kiri, we can experiment with this one, like this specific order in particular. We can see if the credit memo shows up, which it should. But we'll just need to refund the 5 walks in total instead of just 1.
Yeah, and I think you also could just put it through as a separate order as well too, if you just wanted to do the refund on its own. And I think that's another way that you could control just individually. Like if I were to, just create a return order on itself. One. And again, that might take us a couple.
I think it is that one.
Yeah, and there they are here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's your credit memo as well. And then you could do what you would need to do with that as well.
So definitely a couple different ways you guys could use inFlow to push payments and push refunds. Like Kiri said, you could return the items on the order, or you could return your items on its own separate order if you do want to just have a native credit memo on its own. So depending on your workflow, something might work better for you than other things. But if you're ever in doubt about what you should be doing, you could definitely reach out to either your customer success manager, who might be Kiri or Laya, or the support team. So just let us know if you did need a little bit of guidance with that. But yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So I am going to conclude that part of the demo. Let's go back into our slides. And I know everyone is probably patiently waiting to ask questions, not the giveaway, to ask questions.
Yes. All righty. So yeah, before we get to the giveaway, we'll do a final Q&A here. Let's see if we missed any relevant questions for Sync. I do notice there are some questions about how the QBO integration works in general. Laya has pointed you in the direction of our existing QBO webinar, as well as our integration article. So please take a look there. But let's see, I think there was one from Ian. He just come in a little late, but we're happy to have you. What about existing payments where we marked as paid in both QuickBooks and inFlow? So really good question. We can answer this in a couple different ways. So for any existing payments that were already paid on these invoices prior to you connecting your QuickBooks integration or enabling a specific setting, we won't retroactively push those payments for any of your orders that have not been modified. However, if you do enable this integration right now, and you turn on one of the sync options, either push and pull, or push, then any invoices that you modify after that is enabled, then those payments will push. And if there's any issues with your orders in any regard, an error message will be posted on the inFlow side. So if you are noticing that an invoice isn't going through or a payment didn't go through for whatever reason, take a look at your errors log on the inFlow side to see if anything came up there. But I think we got a couple extra questions. So Claire, if we do not have the two sync on, I gather we do it manually. That is correct. So it depends on how you want it to be set up. If you want to push and pull your payments to and from inFlow and QBO, we recommend setting up that setting. If you want to just push your payments from inFlow to QBO, we recommend that setting. And any payments that are paid in QBO that you want in inFlow, if you don't have that setting on, you would have to do it manually. And also vice versa. If you want to only pull payments from QBO to inFlow, if you do log a payment in inFlow that you want to show up on the QBO side, you would also have to do it manually. So it would depend on what you need as a customer. But yeah, so we do have those three options there for you. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Brody, how soon would this webinar be uploaded? It should be uploaded by tomorrow. So that's great. I answered that. Darcy, I may have missed this, but do batch payments in inFlow reflect as a single payment in QuickBooks, or would I have to manually pay them? Really good question. So as a reminder, batch payments is only supported from inFlow to QBO, and it will be marked as an individual payment per order. So they will show on a per order basis and won't just show as one payment. It'll show as multiple. Right. And then Zachariah, can we use multi-currency setting to sync between inFlow and QBO? How to set that up? Yes, we do have a multi-currency setting. So when you are setting up, this is a general QBO question, not specific to two-way sync, but when you are setting up your QBO integration for the first time, we do highly recommend, and it is required for you to have your home currency in both inFlow and QBO match. So if you collect most of your orders in USD, for example, you just need to ensure that both of those home currencies are the exact same. However, you can collect payments in different currencies on individual orders. So there's more on the multi-currency setting in our knowledge-based article that Laya has linked a few times in the chat. So definitely take a look there, Zachariah. Renato, will you offer QuickBooks sales pushing to inFlow at any time in the future? QuickBooks sales pushing. So order sync. So I guess to clarify, this integration enhancement is specifically only for payment sync. Currently, orders can only be pushed from inFlow to QuickBooks. So I think this is something we've considered, pulling orders from QuickBooks to inFlow. It is something that is possible in the future, but it's not a current project we're looking at. So if it is something that you guys are interested in, we definitely recommend reaching out to us directly and submitting a feature request. But at this time, we don't have that feature. Aren't currently planning on it, but that does not mean that we won't do it in the future. Okay, Alan asked, I have a company that uses a central payment that includes many invoices on one check. How do I do that if we clear in QBO? So that's another caveat of the integration. Unfortunately, we do not support batch payments from QBO to inFlow. So you would need to manually input the payments on each individual order in inFlow in that regard. So there was a technical limitation on the QBO side that prevented us from being able to do batch payments from QBO to inFlow. I'm not sure if that's something we'll be able to fix in the future, but for now, any batch payments from QBO will need to be manually inputted on the inFlow side. And then let's see, are there limitations when connecting inFlow with different QuickBooks Online subscription tiers, Essentials, Plus, or Advanced? No, there aren't any limitations. That's actually a really good question. And part of why we specifically have purchase orders configured as bills when pushing from inFlow to QBO, so that there is not any limitation for any different subscription tiers. Because for anyone who's not familiar, purchase orders, the purchase order feature in QBO is not a feature that's available on every single one of the tiers. So yeah, there shouldn't be any limitations there. And really good link to the roadmap there, Kiri. I was thinking about that in my mind, but I was like,
I read it. You know.
Yeah. All right. So we're just so in sync. Yeah. If anybody hasn't noticed, Kiri and I accidentally wore the same shirt today. So, you know.
We're the Quarters It crew.
Quarters It crew, yeah. Super in sync. I'm just missing the hat. All right, so we are done for the day. Thank you guys for participating. Thank you to 192 people in the chat. That's the highest I've ever seen in my own personal webinars. Same. So thank you so much for joining us. We had a great time, and I think we're going to be moving on to becoming game show hosts. I think this is the start. Natural calling.
I'll remember this day.
Yeah. And we'll also need to get Kiri out of that dungeon. So yeah. We gotta go.
Next time we'll have this all fixed. I swear.
Awesome. All right. Well, take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining, everyone.